I want to start on the defensive side of the ball with maybe a position group that I'm really excited about. Getting back to that excitement that we talked about at the beginning, that being the edge room. Now, I want to clarify what I mean by edge. Oregon's room, very multiple. It can be very different on a lot of situations. Talking about that hand on the ground, defensive end type of position. Jordan Birch was in that role. Mateo Uiagalelei was in that role. They can be a stand-up pass rusher, but a lot of time they got their hand on the ground next to those interior defensive linemen. And then the guy that's on the opposite side, most of the time, a stand-up pass rusher, occupying that jack linebacker, can move back to an outside linebacker spot, and that being Tatum Tuioti really occupied a lot of that last season. You can throw in strong side linebacker, you can throw in some outside linebacker type of stuff, but those are the type of guys that I'm looking forward to in this edge room. There are 8 names within this room, 7 that I feel really confident, and then there's one that I think could really maybe jump from inside back to the edge as well in the defensive line. Mateo Uiagalelei returns as a junior. Tatum Tuioti returns as a true junior. Ashton Porter is a redshirt sophomore. Blake Purchase and Elijah Rushing took their redshirt years last year. Blake Purchase is a redshirt sophomore. Elijah Rushing is a redshirt freshman. Speaking of freshmen, there are 3 true freshmen in this group. Modern day's Nasir Wyatt. Toby Hastrup comes out of the state of Texas. And you got Matthew Johnson. Sounds like they're trying to move him a little bit more to the inside, but maybe not this year. But in the future, I could maybe see him working that hand on the ground defensive end type of spot as well. But he's certainly got quickness. He's getting a little bit more girth in this frame. I'd like to have an even number on my graphic, so I'm going with 8 in this particular group. This is a homegrown group. This is an Oregon edge room that lost 2 guys out of the transfer portal. We're talking about Jaden Moore. He transferred out to Pitt. We're also talking about Amarian Winston. He transferred out to Baylor. Okay, and these are not big losses, folks. Okay, you're talking about guys that combined for 1 tackle for loss and a half a sack last season. So now let's get into this homegrown group. Every single one of these 8 guys were signed by Dan Lanning, Tosh Lupoi, and this coaching staff. This is a perfect example. Now, the 2025, I think as a whole, you're going to start to see a lot of these recruited guys that we've heard a lot about really get an opportunity to show just how good that they can be. But this is a room where everybody is a Dan Lanning, Tosh Lupoi type of product. And we're really going to find out the vision. We're really going to find out the development that this defensive coaching staff has had with a lot of these guys in this room. And I'm really excited about that because if you factor in the edge room with the interior defensive line, there is a grand total of 1 transfer, Bear Alexander, which tells you what? It tells you, especially with Oregon's resources, it tells you just how confident they are in of the guys that they've recruited. Okay, because here's the deal. Oregon won't just play recruited guys just to play them. They want to be as good as they possibly can be. If Oregon was not confident in these guys, they would have gone out into the portal and they would have gotten some players. So I believe that this coaching staff is confident in the guys at the top of the rotation, in the middle of the rotation, at the bottom of the rotation, as well as the future of the edge position for Oregon football. Let's get into some big storylines specifically at the top. Oregon returns one of the best pass rushing duos, certainly in the Big Ten, maybe if not all of college football, Mateo Uiagalelei and Tatum Tuioti, specifically focusing on Mateo. I think he's got the opportunity. Like we saw him when Jordan Birch kind of went down last year. He got more of an opportunity, and he just kept on getting better, and he kept on getting better and making more plays and making more plays. Led the Big Ten in the regular season with 10.5 sacks. Like he was a game wrecker. He was really, really good. But I think this year it's about taking that step to being great. It's about taking that step to being elite. Abdul Carter is not in this conference at Penn State. JT Tuimoloau. Jack Sawyer, like some of the better, even the guys in the interior at Michigan, guys like Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant, like when you look at guys in the defensive line, when you look at guys that can wreak havoc within the conference, Mateo Uiagalelei has to be towards the top. He has to be. And I think like his ability to get that 11 sacks, 12 sacks, be that type of game wrecker. I think it has a domino effect on the rest of the Oregon defense, because if he can consistently be that weapon that forces double teams, it's going to open up so many things for some of these guys on the other side, for the Tuiotis of the world, for the Blake Purchases of the world, maybe the Elijah Rushings of the world. And we know that these guys are tremendously talented. I'm not sure how often you're going to see double teams from opposing pass protections, just because of the depth that is around within this Oregon edge room, which we will get to certainly here in just a minute. But Mateo last year was an all Big Ten first team, according to the media, second team, according to the coaches. He had 11 starts last season. Tatum Tuioti started every game last season. Those two, Tatum and Mateo, combined for 16 sacks and 21 tackles for loss. Can they get to a 20 and a 25 season? If they are able to be the top pass rushing unit in the Big Ten, one of the top pass rushing units in all of college football, this is going to be a defense that's going to be really good, because, and we'll talk about this later during the month of July, but that secondary on the back end is young, and you need to kind of give them, you need to throw them a bone a little bit. And if you can consistently get pressure on the passer, that puts less pressure on the defensive backs to be able to cover for longer periods of time. So the pass rush is tremendously important to the success of Oregon defensive football this year. And I think it's going to be really good. Recently, Kayvon Thibodeau was working with Mateo when he was back on campus at the University of Oregon. You have to talk about Mateo as one of the best pass rushers right now. You have to. And him going from really good to great or elite is, I think, the jump that is expected. From Mateo, it's the jump that's expected from Coach Lanning, from Tosh Luboy, and of course, this entire fan base as well. But when also I look to the edge room, I got to look at the depth. Just how deep is this room going to go? Now, if you're watching on video, I've got this on two columns. We know Mateo and Tatum. Those are the experienced guys. Those are the guys that are going to be in those spots at the two starting positions when I talk about these edge guys. Ashton Porter, I thought, played a really good game during the spring. I think Ashton seems like he fits a little bit more as a backup to Mateo when you kind of really compare at that defensive end spot. When you kind of factor in the frames and the abilities of a lot of these other guys, Ashton has a little bit more weight to him. He's a little bit more bulked up, but certainly does have a good amount of agility and a good amount of mobility to be able to get by. So that's kind of where I see him fitting in there. I think Blake Purchase is probably the leader in the clubhouse for that sub-package strong side linebacker type of look, but Blake was just an absolute animal. He was an animal during the spring game. Okay, and can Blake push Tatum Tuioti? That, I think, is another big question. Is how solidified really, I think Tatum is I think he's a reliable option. I don't know if Tuioti really, he can certainly get in there. He can certainly create some plays, but on a consistent basis, how much does he wow you? Blake Purchase went into that spring game, and he had a lot of wow plays, and he was consistently getting in there at 260 pounds, and the agility and mobility that he has. I think that redshirt year was very important to his development. After getting on the field a lot, he played all 14 games as a true freshman last year. So I'm really excited about Blake. When I look at post the starters, which are Tuioti and Mateo, I think Blake is probably the best guy, talented-wise, complete player, however you want to call it, in this room. I'm really excited to see if maybe he can get in and take some snaps away. I hate to put it that way, but really work his way into more take some snaps away from Tatum, work his way into more opportunities coming off of the edge, because being able to rotate on the defensive line is extremely important to be able to keep your guys fresh, especially a little bit later on during the season. After the top two, I think there's a group of three. I was talking about Porter. I was talking about Purchase. I think you got to put Elijah Rushing, the former 5-star, in that group as well. I think this year is an opportunity. I'm curious to see how much of a role that he has, barring injury, of course, just how much that he gets into the rotation. I thought that he played a pretty good game in the spring as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing just how involved that he is. But I think the big question after that is what happens with these freshmen in terms of the depth. Does anybody burn their red shirt? Is any one of these guys playing over 4 games? Okay, because if you want a true 3 deep, one of these guys, I think, has to play. I believe Toby Hastrup is going to redshirt. Now, Toby Hastrup is a guy that picked up football very late within his high school career, but there's a lot of potential there. And I think this year could certainly see a year of development in the weight room to be able to get bigger, faster, and stronger while being able to learn the system. So it comes down to Nasir Wyatt, comes down to Matthew Johnson. Is one of those guys going to play more than 4 games this season? That is going to be very interesting. And Oregon has done this in the past, and other teams have done this in the past, where they can get very strategic with their young players, where they kind of split, hey, Nasir, you're going to play, we're going to get him on the field for 3 or 4 games at this spot, and then we're going to get Matthew Johnson on the field for 3 or 4 games in this spot to be able to preserve the red shirt for both of these guys. So that's something that I have my eye on as far as the edge room goes, as far as that. But it wouldn't be overly surprising to see Nasir or Matthew Johnson get a good amount of play. But there's so much talent at the top, and then in going down to the second team guys, that I just don't know how much. I just think that the talent is going to be so good at those levels. I think the whole redshirting business is going to take care of itself just because of the talent that is in this room. I can't wait to see what type of pressure that these guys are going to be able to get on opposing offensive lines, on opposing quarterbacks. This is one of my favorite, not just because I played the position in high school, but because of how the position group certainly looks. This is one of my favorite position groups on the Oregon team coming up this fall.